Hello, friends. You are back today with Coach Christina and Coach Jess. It's a girls' day today.
Yay, girl gang.
Yeah, we've got a new schedule going on here. School started up, so like my life is making life difficult for other people, I feel like, because I have to do stuff later. I have to record a little bit later than we used to, bright and early in the morning, because my kids go to school like 100 miles away. I have a like 12-mile drive, which doesn't sound that far
No,
until,
that really doesn't.
yeah, but when you're doing it at 7:10 in the morning with the rest of the world, like, and so my kids are going to a magnet school, which means I had to look up what exactly this means. It might be a purely American thing. I don't know. Who knows? So we have a magnet school is like part of the public school system where it's not necessarily like, okay, if you live in this neighborhood, you go to this school. It's more that it's part of that district and everyone has to apply to get into it. And then it has a specific focus. So like sometimes you'll have like a science magnet school where they teach everything, but like science is the star of the show.
Okay.
This one is project-based learning. And so we hated the kids last school. The area we live in, it our district sucks. And so we were like, oh, let's try this because it's new and hopefully they'll be excited and everything. So far it's been nice. But the thing is, they built it in the middle of a neighborhood that already it's a bunch of roundabouts. You know what Americans can't do? Roundabouts.
Drive a fucking roundabout. Like, seriously.
Oh my God. I'm like, why does everybody suck at this? It's an easy concept. Everyone fucks it up. And then it creates the traffic it's supposed to alleviate, right? And so this neighborhood is already set up so horrifically to get out of. And then everyone's leaving for work. And then on top of that, the inherent of the school is that everyone's traveling to it, right? It's not something where there's a lot of walkers and
Yeah,
things.
okay. Like, you're all coming from different areas.
Right. So
Yeah.
everyone's driving their kids to school. So now there's a million cars. I think there's 600 students. Everyone's going to go drop their kids off.
Damn.
It's such a shit show. And so poor Vic, we like joked about me taking this toll road that's like that goes right to it, but it's like $6 for me to do this every morning. And so at first I was like, that's ridiculous. I'll
Now
just
you're like,
no,
$6.
I've taken it the last 3 days because it changes it from a 27-minute drive with all four kids at 7:10 in the morning
Ew.
to being a 16-minute drive.
See, I live in the inner loop of Houston, so nothing that I go to takes more than 6 minutes.
Oh God, I wish.
Like, none.
Out
Any
on the
like
prairie.
yeah. It's so I have to drive for like more than 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's so long.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I went back to the gym with like Lifetime. So, Lifetime's 30 minutes away from my house. And
Hmm.
this school is on the way, like 20 to 25 minutes of that
Yeah,
drive. So then
that
I was like,
totally
well,
makes sense for you.
fuck it, I'm already there. So I finished the drive, right? But by the time I pick the kids up, I'm like, and like today, uh, Cora and Ben have swim lessons at Lifetime. So I took the kids to school this morning, went to Lifetime, drove home. I've already been in the car for an hour today. I'm gonna go pick them up at 3:30, do another hour, and then we have swim lessons at Lifetime. So I'm gonna drive all the way back. I'm gonna do that drive 3 times a day. I drive a Suburban. I'm so sick of filling up my gas tank.
Oh my
I have so many kids. I
God.
have to drive a Suburban.
That toll road's gonna get used lots. Like,
Right.
I'd be
Right.
like, yep,
I'm like, how
let's
do I
go.
make this a tax write-off? Like,
Let's budget this right in. Like,
yeah. I was like $24 because they go to school 4 days a week. $24 is worth my sanity each week. I won't get Starbucks at all. Like, whatever it is. It's so much more soothing to show up without like the time and like we're late and like things like that. So yeah. Long story short, that's why we're recording in the afternoon instead of in the morning,
I
which even
know this is weird.
they wouldn't have even known that because it comes out at the same time anyways.
This is true.
Um, we're back. Okay. So today we are talking about a subject I feel like, I feel like we talk about a lot of things that are like potentially uncomfortable for people. And this one especially at the end of summer. I feel like when a lot of it's like summer and January is when a lot of people's craziness comes out.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of this one. So the topic is when your healthy habits just aren't so healthy, when what you're doing just isn't serving you so well, and how we want to renegotiate it, and things like that. And I actually asked Jess before we started, I was like, oh, is this topic too close to my conversation with Steven about like what is healthy and stuff? And that one wound up being more mental health based, kind of. And in this,
Yeah.
I want to, like, we were talking about diving more into like the physical, like things, activities, choices, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it all kind of boils down, like down to the same thing, right?
It really does.
And
It's all like, yeah, like if your mind isn't set for what needs to be done, it's just you can exercise, you can eat right, you can like whatever the hell that means, right?
right.
It won't matter if that mind isn't on track. And I felt like that was your conversation with Stephen a lot last week. But I have been having a few like just new client sign-ons or consults. And I've had a few clients in the past as well. Like I'm a little OCD. I like the things the way that they are, and I am a recovered exercise holic. Let's call it. And your vibe attracts your tribe, and so I have been having a lot of conversations with people about taking rest days and how that's all right. And what is eating healthy? What does clean eating look like? And because I feel like we get these consults or we talk with clients and they say, oh, I'm eating healthy, but like what does that mean? And a lot of times there can be fear that stems out of eating healthy or going off the healthy eating track, let's say, like venturing into carbohydrate world and utilizing carbohydrates as like this amazing source of energy and food, and taking an added rest day and that type of thing. And I can really relate to this because that used to be me. I trained 5-6 days a week in the pool. And then when I retired from synchro, I got into exercise, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I would strength train like 5 or 6 days a week. I would do cardio 5 or 6 days a week. And I was always so scared to not work out or not train, or, how taking a rest day would affect my body weight. And I don't know, I just like that kind of starts us off on like this broad like idea or topic, but it can like eating in a certain way, moving your body in a certain way can be wonderful and beautiful and good. Like we want to do these things, but at the same time, it can also turn into a bit of an obsession, and you sometimes really need to disconnect the emotion from some of these things. And I don't mean stop having emotions. That's not what I'm saying at all. Please be like, emotions are fantastic, but sometimes we need to disconnect that. And if you are, on this hamster wheel of exercise, cardio, eating like minimal carbohydrates or none, and not really finding any results, it's kind of like, well, you need to change. There needs to be a change, right?
Yeah, right. And it's the like last piece you had said made me think about the reel that Elizabeth just helped me put together and post on my page in the Pro Physique one. So Elizabeth Hyman is somebody who works with Pro Physique to help us with all of our social media. So if you're ever interacting with like one of the pages, you're probably talking to Elizabeth with stuff. She's amazing. And so her and I were talking about like different like messages to convey with stuff and everything. And so my most recent one had like, if you feel like you're stuck on that hamster wheel, I feel like majority of the time it's because a lot of it, like women are so focused on the number on their pants or the number on the scale, because quite frankly, the number on the scale can do fuck all. It can be all over the place. And the
Mhm.
number that you're wearing can completely shift while that number, or it could stay exactly the same while your weight goes all over the place, like whatever. But they'll focus
Different
so
brands have
much.
different sizes too. Like, fuck them.
Right. But I mean, even like now, right? And I think I brought this up like a couple episodes ago or something, where like a couple years ago, to think of sitting at 140 pounds, I'm at like 142, this would have broken me like 5 years
Me
ago.
too.
It would have
Me
pissed
too.
me off so much. There was
Mhm.
something about where I needed my weight to start with a 1-3 to say, like, yeah, I'm really doing it. Right. And like, it was so silly where even if I was in a good groove, I would switch up whatever I was doing to try and control that. And it was so dumb. Whereas now, it's probably, experience with all things lifting. I think coaching as many people as we have over the years, it helps you with your own stuff. So I thought that was
Yeah,
interesting too, that you brought that up, how like our vibe attracts our tribe. It's like also funny how things I'm like doing for myself or like working on with myself, then you'll start to see it more in like other people's check-ins and then like talk about it. I could go on a million
absolutely.
tangents right now, but this would bug me like so much. And I was just talking to Vic actually, because we're going to Mexico in about a month. Yeah, like almost exactly a month from now. And I was like, I'm like very loosely tracking these days. Like I'm pretty much just like in a rhythm. If I go over, whatever, I've been going to concerts like nobody's business, like living my best life. It's been nice, not stressed about it. I'm lifting really heavy. Like I'm finally back to it post Claire. She's going to be 17 months here in a couple of days. Like obviously the marathon threw all of that off where I wasn't lifting super heavy, but like now I'm finally getting back to kind of back to numbers I was doing before, where it's like exciting to see that again. And I can see it in the mirror that like my shoulders are coming back, like my quads are coming back, muscle is starting to show up. And the scale is like, it's actually like tiny moving. So I know when I'm not tracking, I'm probably missing out on some food there. Um, but I looked at him, I was like, it's really nice to have a beach vacation planned. And I'm not like, oh, better tighten things up, like better go on a diet or something like that. Because we talk to people about that stuff all the time. And I'm not stressed about that. I'm cool with where like where I'm at right now. I plan on going and eating all the Mexican food and drinking all the margaritas. And to go into that having dieted would just be a shit show. And even though, like, if you looked at me 5 years ago when I was like still heavy and competing and stuff like that. And my food was, I was posting even more about my meals to Instagram. I was like
Mhm.
working on YouTube and like stuff like that. So I felt like everything had to be like the definition of health or like on point,
Right.
like all of that kind of stuff. Right. I never drank alcohol. I ate so many vegetables. That's when my fiber was at like 50 grams a day.
That's
Like
insanity.
I was so stressed out about my body and missing a lifting session, missing cardio, all of that kind of stuff. So if you looked at it, it'd be like, oh, well, I exercised for at least 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I ate like my weight in vegetables. Everything was tightly like taken care of. I didn't drink. I was obsessive about my sleep and things like that. I feel so much healthier as this Christina who has a beer with her husband like most days and just chills. And it's not like where you lose control, because there's a lot of people who can't have just one of anything, whether it's
Yeah.
a Oreo or a beer, like, because if they're so tightly controlled that if they let go of one thing, it turns into this like binge fest with whatever it is. And so whether it's your exercise routine, the foods you're choosing, stuff that you're avoiding for whatever, if you're doing it from a place of like, if I don't do this, my world will fall apart, you're probably not in the healthiest situation,
Yeah,
right?
and I agree. Like a lot of the things that you mentioned, like scale, and tracking your weight. I think that on it, like this might be not popular opinion, but I think that that is a healthy habit because you are just, making sure that you stay within a range of quote unquote health. If you're not watching on YouTube, I just quoted, right? Like You're paying attention to variables and data that affect your physical body and your physical health. That in itself is good. And I always talk to my clients about, hey, daily weigh-ins are actually a source of empowerment and like information. You can learn so much about how your body is responding to different variables.
Yeah.
And so that in itself can be healthy. But when it turns unhealthy is both you and I have experienced that stress of, oh my God, what now? Like you go out to eat and you don't weigh yourself just because you feel like you're going to like have to beat yourself up for 4 days and do more cardio and eat less. And honestly, like there's that we're going to talk about emotion again is because it's normal to feel some type of way, and that's okay. Like I'm not saying that it's not. I think, seeing my body weight go up as I'm going through like a building phase, it was a bit of a mind fuck, honestly. And it still can be because Bob weighs like 5 pounds more than me. So our scale gets us confused. So that makes me feel super awesome. But like, I'm not freaking out about it. It's not ruining my day. I'm not stepping on the scale and looking at the number and going, oh, fuck, I need to go now run and sit in a sauna and eat only vegetables and like quote unquote, fix it. And so like that would be a healthy habit that would turn not so healthy. And in that situation, I would say, well, everybody's very different, but it's like, okay, working on that mindset of, understanding what body weight is versus body fat, right? That's very different things. But maybe taking it back away from the scale. Like I have clients that weigh themselves, every other day. I have some clients that don't even weigh themselves. They aren't competitors. But we use other data measurements and other tools to measure progress. So again, it's like these healthy habits that I think what was the big one? Oh, vegetables, like eating vegetables. Having produce in your diet is fantastic and you really should generally, I guess, right? But for someone like me, I don't have a gallbladder and raw vegetables are actually not really good for me. They cause me a lot of like digestion issues. So for me, like obsessing over always having a salad, well, that's going to give me a bunch of like digestion and like bloating and discomfort that's not going to be healthy. So me actually having a salad, that's like not a good choice.
It's going to create unhealthy
Yeah.
feelings and stuff. Right. And I had somebody I was working with for a while who, really wanted to lose weight and had like body fat that we could have like worked to get off of or get off. And, she had, she was a runner. And I don't think that she was vegan or vegetarian, but she was very plant-based. But I don't think she like, it wasn't like a lifestyle that she was like leading. It was more just that she was very heavily produce based in her meals. And we struggled with the fact that like, it was the whole clean eating thing, right? Where,
Like
well,
what? Do you wash your food?
right. Like, I just don't understand, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm eating, well, it was like, it was so multifaceted actually, which it was interesting to have in one situation because you hear a lot of these with different people. So on one hand, right, we had to have the talk about reverse dieting because for many, many years, it turned out she had been eating during the week, between 900 and 1100 calories a day, all via produce. And then on the weekends,
Heart hurts for her.
Right. On the weekends, it would be like splitting a whole pizza like with somebody and then having like a big dessert and like all this. And so like huge fluctuations, right? And then, you have to kind of explain like, okay, well, the reason why like you kind of like lose the breaks when it comes to the weekends is because your body's really hungry from the week.
Yeah.
And then it's like everything, because your body it needs the food, right? And I'm sure somebody out there will find a way to tell me I'm wrong, like with this, but like no grown ass woman who's also an athlete of any sort, right? If you are undertaking an athletic endeavor most days of the week, you are an athlete. It is not appropriate nor healthy for you to be trying to survive off of less than 1,500 calories. And I'm talking about living there, right? Like if we're dieting for a short period of time, like whatever, right? We might have to get there. But if that is just if you are terrified of eating 1,700 calories because it's going to make you pack on weight, then that is a symptom of an issue that we need to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was where it was like, well, I don't know what you want me to do because all I do is eat healthy. And I was like, right. I understand why you think that. But the problem is that we have to eat something besides like romaine lettuce with some nuts and like all of the ingredients were perfect and beautiful, right? And I was just like, okay, but like throw a chicken breast on top of it or like have a steak next to it, have a glass of milk. Like I wasn't even like recommending like crazy things, but it was like we have to introduce other stuff that's like important to your body. And also we're never going to be able to diet if you survive off of 900 calories a day because there's nothing I can take from you. Like what am I like eat less lettuce? Like we can't do that. And it's so hard too. I think like thank God for our videos that we can do so that people can see us, because I hate having conversations like that because I don't want it to come off shitty. But like at a certain point, it's like, I don't know a different way to explain this. Like with things where this dogmatic approach to eating only these like certain foods has now led you to a place where like we're kind of in trouble and we're going to have to shake things up a lot and add in calories and food sources you're not used to and that now we're afraid of because we've built this wall around them.
And the issue I feel like too is people go, oh, I can't eat that because when I do,
carbs,
I blow up, I gain weight, I feel uncomfortable. And number one, well, yeah, it sure does when you eat half a pizza. No shit. That happens to me too. Like, okay, we're the same person. Surprise. But even when you ingest more carbohydrates, your body is going to hold on to 3 to 4 grams of water per gram of carbohydrate. So your body weight will go up. And that's okay. And it's normal and it's necessary and it's part of the process. The issue is when people incorporate these foods, one, they haven't eaten them for so long that their body does have a reactionary response to it because they just eat vegetables all the time. So when they do have like, I don't know, bread. 2 slices of bread, their body is like, oh yeah, exciting.
carbs,
And right. And holds on to water along with that food.
Yeah.
And so, and people don't understand the feeling of feeling full as well. Like they're feeling this like empty feeling, but full feeling of a bunch of vegetables.
They think it's bloating, right?
Yes. And so then they think it's bloating and their body weight goes up because they have carbohydrates, but also a lot of time, honestly, they're stressing the fuck out about eating 2 pieces of bread. And that's what's causing a lot of the reactionary results from their body.
Like a shutdown for your system.
Yeah, it's like a stress response. And I mean, the only way, honestly, to go about this or like overcome it is like do it and breathe through it. You're going to be all right. You know, tiptoe yourself through the water of eating a discomfort food, something that I tell, like I've worked with lots of clients on incorporating more carbohydrates, even something scary like honey, or banana. I'll say
fruit. I was just gonna say,
fruit. Bananas are like a hot topic. I don't know, they're good. But like having it around your workout, like either in a pre or a post, I find can really help clients just incorporate more carbohydrates into their diet. And the more consistent you can be with it, your body's not going to have as much of a reactionary response. And so, yeah, it might a little bit when you start doing these things, because it's different and it's a change and your body is used to what you've been doing, but you did not hire a coach to just give you the same shit that you've already been doing and for you to be like finding no results, but now you're paying somebody. Like
Right.
that's useless, right? So yeah, like incorporating it around their workout so they feel like they are utilizing those carbohydrates, because they are, and that's good, right? Is a really good way. But yeah, just like tiptoeing, adding these things, but just being consistent with it and just fighting through the emotional response of, oh my God, because the more, oh my God, you give, the more your body's going to freak out.
Yeah. Well, so before we started recording, we talked about how I spoke with somebody today that had brought up something that like gave me, I had to like pause, and I had concern because of it when she, had brought up some like past like disordered eating patterns, and then was like, our calories aren't super low, but she was like, I'm spreading out my meals so that I'm getting that hungry feeling. And like, I missed it. And like, to a certain extent, right? Like, if you're in a dieting phase, you have to welcome and be okay with what it means to be hungry. You're going to feel
Yeah.
it, right? But sometimes, like, when people say it a certain way and they mention like a history, like, I'll get nervous like for a second where I'm like, okay, I don't want us to get somewhere that's like triggery with things. But when we're going back up out of a diet, right? The what I'll hear all the time is like, oh, well, I can't eat more than 120 carbs because then I get super bloated, or I just can't do it because then my weight goes crazy, or something like that. And then you dive into more behind that and you find out more about the carb sources. And maybe it's because they start welcoming in things like, maybe it's, not sandwich bread where it's easy to say, I'm using 2 pieces to make my sandwich, but maybe it's something like, a baguette at a restaurant where you were saying we're having 2 ounces. We really ate like 6.
Yeah.
And so now the body's responding differently and things like that. So maybe like it kind of changes the amount that we're having with stuff. And so it's not necessarily the carb, it's the dose. But like you said, with how your body holds on to the water and everything, like a big thing that I've seen as we add things back in for people is when they have that feeling of just fullness again after the hunger of a diet, they freak out and think there's something wrong with their body, their digestion, even if they'll be like, well, I'm pooping every day, but I still feel so bloated or whatever. And it's like, no, you're just not hungry. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, we have to embrace that. And, something, like, and people don't realize, I feel like sometimes how easy it can be to make these adaptations happen when you pull stuff and make it more difficult for your body is like, it can happen with our prep clients over the course of a prep. And I'll even get nervous when a client will say like, okay, well, from here on out, I'm just going to go ahead and pull all like rice and bread and stuff like that. And I'm only going to get my carbs from like, potatoes and sweet potatoes or something. And I'll be like,
Uh-uh.
let's not
The
like,
no from me, friends.
don't need to do that. And dairy, that's another one. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out dairy. And I'll be like, nope. If you've been having it, keep it in, please, because you can change your body's response to that food. And then maybe you didn't have an issue before, but we come out of a 6-month long prep and you reintroduce dairy for the first time. And all of a sudden you feel like you have a lactose intolerance issue or something like that, when like, yeah, maybe now you do. And we have to go through that discomfort of adding it back in and getting you to a life. But it's not that now you're sick or that your body can't have it. I mean, maybe for some people, if there was already an issue, it's there. But for most people, it's just that we have to get your body used to like the chemical process of dealing with that again. And so
Mhm.
it can happen over the course of one dieting phase if we are overly aggressive and we pull things that we don't need to. And that's why, like, especially during times of year like this where we have like the transformation challenge and there's people who are super super motivated that I'm working with that are like, we're halfway through, shouldn't we be dropping the hammer? And I'm like, no, because we're seeing things happen, they're moving at a really great speed. I want you to keep these results, because the way I look at it is like transformation challenges are cool for putting the hammer down, and you see some people get these like insane results, right?
Yeah, you do.
But I was just explaining to someone this morning, like when a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, it doesn't say all right, I'm gonna go fuck around and be a butterfly for like a little bit. And then when my wings get heavy, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn back into a caterpillar for a while and I'll go back and forth. Like, no, it transformed. That's your life now. Like,
Yeah.
you are a
They stay there.
butterfly. You got to
Yeah.
live a butterfly life. And so if we are going to say, I am transforming, I am this person, I'll do anything for these results. All right, settle in, friend, buckle up. Like, we're going to go be some butterflies and we're going to like do butterfly shit from here on out. And you can't just go back and forth.
Oh, I
And
like that. We're going to do butterfly shit.
like, and so if you're doing something that you're like, the fasting, right? I'm seeing a lot of, I'm going to fast for 3 days, twice a week for the next 6 weeks.
Wild.
And I'm like, oh, could we not like talk about end up with digestive issues at the end of it, right? Like, it gives me so much concern.
And also, why? Like, truly, like, your energy is going to be down on those days, and people claim that it's not.
No.
Shut up.
Right.
Like, your energy is going to be down. You're not going to be able to perform as well in the gym. Like, I talk to my clients about performance in the gym being like top priority. Like,
Yeah.
everybody wants to go into the gym and feel their best, right? And feel good and strong. And yeah, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have better days. But like, that should be the primary thing, is you are either trying to build muscle or keep that muscle around. And so let's go into the gym and like feel good.
Yeah.
And so if you're fasting, you're going to feel like dog shit, not only in the gym, but like the whole day. Your stress is like, your body's cortisol response is going to be super high. But then you're weighing yourself when you're not eating, and then you're weighing yourself when you are eating. And what kind of mentality does that give you if we're already having some issues? Like, we're already obviously having some issues if we're choosing to, like, there might be like health reasons why other people are doing a fast for
Which
whatever
doesn't
reason.
count, right? If it's religious or like health reasons,
Yeah,
that's something different.
but if we're fasting for, if we're just fasting in general,
No, people are
I'm
fasting for
not a fan.
fat loss. That's what I get frustrated with, right? Because I saw today someone said, think about it. If you were in a coma, would you gain weight? And that was the justification for why they said, don't, what was it? Sometimes calorie counting might not work for somebody and they have to fast to lose the weight and reset their body. And then the coma comment, right? But we can't be human beings who are running around working and exercising and things like that and compare our body to somebody
who's lying in a coma and doing nothing.
And they do still feed a person who's comatose, right?
Yeah, they
like
do.
They have feeding tubes and they have like things coming in, like sugar water the whole time and like things like that, because your body literally needs food for your brain to function, much less for you to go on a walk or to show up to work. And when it's just not something you can do for the rest of your life. And like, why would you want to? And so that's where like a lot of the things that people talk about, like, I mean, everybody knows I hate keto, right? Like, I don't have to pretend about it anymore. Like, it pisses me off. Nobody sticks with it. Stop it. And then, you know what? There's going to be somebody who's going to message me and be like, I stick to keto for 6 weeks every 6 months or like something like that, where I'm like, that's not sticking to it. You can't live that way. Like, and unless you are, what is it? Is it epilepsy?
It's epilepsy.
Yeah, that's really helped by it. And then there's like cancer patients where it can be helpful sometimes. There are cases. But I, as a coach, when it comes to things, is like, if you cannot do this forever, I'm not going to coach you into doing it unless we have well-defined exit plans before and after, which means like, okay, I have somebody who was like, she has kids in the house and she's like, I can't ever be around a cookie or ice cream. And so I'm just going to cut them out of my life completely. And I was like, nope, I want you to program one into your day every single day. And then the first thing that we're going to work on before we ever consider a diet is, how do we not hate ourselves for having the cookie that fit into our plan for maintenance? And you can be someone who says, I value health. I value good choices. I value produce and exercise and my micronutrients. I also value the fact that cookies are awesome and they can be a part of my life without having like a meltdown. Right. And so saying like all the time, I don't eat sugar. I don't eat refined sugar. I don't eat fruit because it has too much sugar in it. What?
Yeah,
Why?
I feel like for me, it's when there's a demonizing mentality behind something, and like it goes both ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have that cookie. Okay, sure. Like a cookie might not give you any nutritional value. And to be honest, okay, like if you don't want to eat a cookie, like if cookies aren't your thing,
Right.
dude,
Don't do it.
but like if there's ever anything that, like I said, demonizes or is very black and white in anything, it always gives me a little bit of a red flag because I'm going, why are we so black and white about a situation?
Yeah.
And it's with exercise, it's with nutrition, it's with like, oh my gosh, you only have to drink, like you should only drink 1 gallon of water, and it needs to be purified and it needs to XYZ. It's like, okay, well, why? Right. And it's again, it's like, it's such a big red flag to me. And like, that's why orthorexia is a thing, right? There is such a thing as, hey, I'm, I don't know like the actual definition of orthorexia. It's basically like just whatever the healthy food is. We should look it up.
No, orthorexia is the exercising one, isn't it? Where
No, I
you
thought it was like healthy
exercise.
eating.
Um, oh no, you're right. You're right. What is the one I'm thinking of? Oh my God.
I don't know. Exercising.
No, there's one where you exercise like it's almost like extra or bulimia via exercise, basically. I'll Google it.
Oh.
Okay, so orthorexia is an unhealthy focus on eating in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Eating nutritious
So
food is good, but if you have orthorexia, you obsess about it to a degree that can damage your overall well-being. And that's what you're getting into,
it's
right?
the
Is that
obsession part.
it's yeah. So like if you're somebody where you're eating these ways and stuff like that, but then all you can think about it, if going to a restaurant that doesn't have something like specific the way that you would order it or something like as healthy and that like stresses you out and then you're avoiding outings and like situations and stuff like that, if it's causing like where it's the only thing you think about and it's at the forefront of stuff and it's stressing you out, that healthy eating or the healthy amount of exercise or like whatever it is no longer healthy. It's the
Yeah, and it can be really hard to navigate those things because like you said, like the cookie thing, I've utilized that like that um method before where a client has a fear food, right?
right.
And I say, okay, let's make it part of your plan so it fits within your macros. Sometimes that doesn't work for people. And okay, I'll take myself for an example. I was reverse dieting from prep and I got to a place where my calories were higher. And I was like, okay, I feel like I can handle ice cream in my home. And I fully like had a serving of Ben and Jerry's and it fit my macros and it was fine. Like that was not an issue for me. The issue was that I would then obsess over the pint of ice cream that was open in my freezer. And then I would go and binge on the ice cream. Like that was the issue. So like, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe you just need to like, again, work on some other like mindset stuff while you maybe don't have the cookies in your house and then you start incorporating cookies. But the fact of the matter is the mindset stuff is that health versus not health. Like it's that obsession piece, right? Yeah. People have to approach it maybe in different ways, but at the end of the day, it's really calling yourself out on, am I looking at this in the best light, right? Is having one cookie a day, I mean, okay, depending on the cookie, like, is it a crumble cookie or is it an Oreo?
Dude, I've only gotten crumble cookies once in my life, like where I went to the store and got them, right? I didn't like them that much and I like to bake. So I was like, I can make a better cookie.
Yeah, dude, you're fucking fire baker.
Like, so, and I'm going to go into that because I think that's another interesting thing that has helped me over the years, right? So I looked up their macros on their cookie, and I looked at the number because it was like one,
Doesn't seem odd.
and I was like, fuck you, it's 150 calories. Like,
Per a third or a quarter, right?
no, per 1/8 of the cookie. It was like 1/6 or 1/8, like some very stupid, how am I supposed to measure this situation of this cookie? And it's such bullshit that they market it this. First of all, why would you make that the serving? Why isn't a serving at least 1/2 of that? Because who's
people
doing
fall
that?
into this trap because like
Right?
doesn't not Ben and Jerry's, Lenny and Larry's cookies do the exact same thing.
They're
They
like
have the
two
macros, but it's
servings.
for like half a
Yeah.
cookie.
Who does that? Who does that? Yeah. And so I was like, these are not worth me doing this math. They're just not that good. And then the other side of that, actually, like going into the fear foods and things like that. So I kind of, if we had that, what was it? The Q&A podcast, I think a couple weeks ago, it was where somebody asked us about if we had any of our own history with things. Now I can say that like I sat there sweating in my chair when that question came out, because I was like, I've never like talked about this like a podcast. I've talked to clients about it. I was very stressed out to like bring up the fact, and I didn't want to lie, right? So I
Oh, I'm
didn't.
so sorry. That was my question that I was like, it's a good order.
No, it was good. So like I dealt with bulimia for like years, and a lot of it like went into like binge eating and like stuff like that. And so it was not cute. It's a
I wouldn't say bulimia is cute.
right. I'm like, we're on a podcast. Like, how I'm not gonna go just like crazy, right? It was not fun. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm past that in my life. But it was something
10
that
out of 10 don't recommend
do
bulimia.
not, yeah, 0 out of 10 stars. But it was something that ran my life for like 10 years. And it's funny because earlier in this podcast, you said if you go over how people would fix things with like exercise or not eating. And that was the way I would think about stuff. That was literally the word where I'd be like, well, I had this thing and now I feel guilty about it. I can fix it. That's a terrible way. Like that was the extreme I was in for like, a long time ago, like where I was with that kind of stuff. And there, so I had everything was fear foods, right? Unless it was perfectly clean, it was perfectly healthy. Everything could easily turn into like a no breaks food because I had this like stupid trick. And so like getting to a place where now I can bake and we can have a cookie jar full of bomb ass cookies because I've like worked to find a cool recipe. Shout out to Nadia from the Great British Baking Show because she has the best chocolate chip cookie recipe. That's all my husband and I make. Or have cakes and cupcakes. We always have cake in my freezer. There's 2 pounds of buttercream in my refrigerator right now. Like it's always hanging out and like things like that. And I feel like it helped me. I mean, I went through like a bunch of other stuff to like try and like work on that and get past it. But being able to make that kind of stuff myself too is also kind of like, it's helped a lot over the years because I don't need to go to a restaurant and have like a dessert in front of me and then feel like I better eat it all, even if I'm full, because when am I going to have something like this again? Like, oh, I could make it tomorrow. Like, we could just do this. We could have it around. And also if you make it yourself and know how to track macros, it's really easy to log things. But this like, I feel like getting past that is such a huge thing for me. And like with all of my clients, and especially if they bring up anything like that, I have always been like pretty honest with it where I'm like, this is the extent that I understand how you're feeling. And so I'm not trying to be like harsh with you when it comes to this stuff, but like you're in a place I really don't want you to be living. And I know you're not actually having fun living there. Like it's not serving you. If you've hired me, then your obsession with healthy eating is not serving your goals.
It's not working for you.
We wouldn't be talking. If it was working out, then like you would need a coach to help you lose weight or to change your habits and stuff like that. And sometimes we have to tread into things that can be a bit more like nerve-wracking, but no, tangent there. I also looked at the other thing, anorexia athletica, also known as exercise bulimia. I thought for some reason I was mixing that up with orthorexia, but that's where like you won't take rest days. And beyond the
Everybody,
fact,
please listen.
oh my God, like,
like,
and I understand this,
stress
but
about taking a rest day.
Right. So going back to when I was like checking in with Paul all the time and stuff, I remember he started to give me, like you and I were talking about before, the 2 rest days and he would be like, I don't mean this week. I mean in a row. You're going to like sit down and watch movies for 2 days and do nothing else. And it
Mm-hmm.
would be like, what? Like, and it changes things. And I just recently had a client who was like how I used to be, where, she is a 15 to 20K step per person day. She was lifting 6 days a week and then doing something like yoga or like something like that on the 7th day, like the active rest. There was always something. And I was like, you're not.
I remember me trying to take active rest days. Active rest. I'm going to go for a 3-hour hike.
And you know what I learned when I found like the right style of programming for me was, if you can work out 6 days a week, you're not working out hard enough. Like,
Yeah, no, like
you
you're
are
not.
not kicking your ass if you can go back. I lift 3 or 4 days a week and I am uncomfortable from my lifting probably 6 days a week.
Yeah, like I train 4 days a week. And like I've had clients absolutely tell me, like I'll maybe be like, okay, sure, we'll do a 5-day a week training program, but that 5th day is usually like accessories, some pump
Yeah,
work, like
I'll do like a circuit
extra.
maybe.
And honestly, the 5th day, the people who have 5th days, that's usually my bikini clients.
Mhm.
Like it's not a lifestyle client. So like if you are training adequately with enough effort, you should require those 2 days. You should love those 2 days.
Where you're like, I
And
can't do it.
yeah, like not an active rest day where you're gonna go for a 5-hour hike. Like, no. That's like, sure, get your steps in. Like, that's not an issue. Sure. Like 10K, whatever. Like if you're just walking around. But and I feel like what happens.
Wait, you mean 10K steps? She doesn't mean go run a 10K.
No, I mean like
I've
10,000
had
steps.
people do that too. Be like, I'm just gonna go for a little jog. I'm like, no,
I'm
no,
just
no,
gonna
no.
run a 10K.
Just a
Could you
10K. That's
imagine?
fine.
Oh shit, what was I gonna say? I don't know if men feel this way. They might, but like I feel like women, we don't feel productive unless we're doing something.
Go.
And so, yeah, and so there's like this thought that if we aren't being like doing work, we're useless and it's not productive and it's time wasted. But I always challenge that because that literally was me. That was me 100%. And I am a recovered do all of the things person. I still struggle with that. Like my 6 weeks off of not doing anything. That was fucking hard. Like that wasn't easy. Maybe I made it look easy, but like when I went in for my post-op appointment at 4 weeks, I thought I was going to be cleared. They said, nope, you still can't lift for 2 more weeks. Like you can't lift more than 10 pounds for 2 more weeks, but you look great. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I literally went to my car and I almost cried and I freaked out. Because moving and exercise like feels good, right? Like, and again, the healthy thing, that's good. Move your body in ways that feel good. Exercise, do cardio, like, yay, love it. But, when you actually have to take a rest day, it shouldn't stress you out. And it can be hard to break that cycle, but like, you have to understand that resting is productivity. Taking a beat is productivity. It is a form of self-care. And getting my clients to just shift that thinking, like exercise is self-care, like doing your cardio, that's self-care. Cool. Meal prep, that's your self-care. But you know what else is self-care? Eating that fucking cookie and sitting on the couch and being okay with that, right? Getting less than 10,000 steps in a day, that's okay, right? Like it's, again, it's
Like
about
a
this
vacation. So, because
Yeah.
you've gone on those with Bob and stuff like that, right? So when what was the last time? It was this spring, right? That you guys went
Yeah, in
to
March we went to
Cabo?
Mexico.
Did you Cabo or
Cancun.
okay, that's where we're going, and I've never been. So we'll have to like talk about that offline.
Oh my God.
So I'm very excited. So do you work out when you go to Cancun with Bob?
Yeah, I do.
Would you, like, if you went next month and you're in like this phase where you're at now, would you?
I mean, I work out, so
And there's no
I
right or wrong.
work out.
I'm just curious.
Oh, that's okay. Like I work out, I shift my days, so I like go and I get morning movement in is
Right.
basically how I did it. So like I would go and like train at like whatever kind of gym was there. But like there were a few nights where your girl did not sleep really well because we were up really late. You know what I did the next day? I still got up and like Bob and I got our coffee, but like we went for a walk on the beach and just like it was a nice start to the day. Again, it's because it's like that feels good. But I wasn't worried. But I have done this in the past. I absolutely have, like 5 years ago, where I would wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, I had a pizza at 10 p.m. I'm going to go for a run. And like, I don't run. And then I would hurt myself, but I'd be like, yeah, I want to work it off. Like I did that too. I absolutely did like the fix thing, which is something that I tell my clients, like it's a non-negotiable. If you go and overeat, I don't care. You are back on plan the next day. You don't fix things. But yeah, I mean, I work out, but I'm not obsessive about working out. And like, yeah, this in March when I went to Mexico with Bob, I didn't diet or anything before. Like I was in full
Right.
eat all of the things mode.
So I mean, when it comes to trips, I mean, a lot of the times just because of who we are, like I said we were going on this trip to have a lay on the beach and do nothing, like get massages, like kind of trip. And
Mm-hmm.
then turned around and booked like hiking to Chichen Itza and then was like, should we go do that? And I booked like all the things. I'm like, let's do all the tours. And then I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this because we have so much to do. I did the same thing in London and we walked. I would not let my husband or his best friend like hail a cab anywhere. I was like, we can walk. Like, and we just walk, which was gorgeous because we saw the whole thing, right? But I I worked out specifically in April because I had the marathon like 3 weeks later. That's the only time that I am going to go to a hotel gym on a trip. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not, and that's like same with clients. They'll ask like, what am I supposed to be doing about this? And if, we're in a situation where we have a deadline or something like that, and if it's like a work trip, then I'm like, yeah, go find your hotel gym. But if you're going to be doing something where you're supposed to be going and having fun, then I always just bring up like joyful movement because I feel like
Oh, yes,
if
exactly.
you are bailing on a situation because it's going to stress you out that you didn't go get in a 20-minute band workout that morning, like we should probably work on the fact that we know not doing your 20-minute hotel banded workout is not going to move the needle one direction or the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say that band workout did nothing for you.
It didn't do anything,
But
And if it's something where it's like, I could do it, I could not, whatever. I woke up early, everyone's still asleep, I was bored, then like, yeah, go do it. My concern goes back, like we've been talking about, like, if you are going to not want to eat that day because you didn't get your time in the gym, that's something we need to talk about. Like,
yeah.
now I'm concerned about that because if you're going on a vacation, like the ultimate self-care, right? We should be able to truly like relax, chill. Like I'll tell people if you want to go work out, I will give them like a band thing and go but do this. But I always say, like, honestly, I could care less if you do that. Walk everywhere. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Walk with somebody. Carry a cocktail in one hand as you walk. Like, I don't care what it is. I want you to chill so that when you come home, you truly feel rejuvenated and rested and like, oh, I can't wait to hit it, because you're not going to make any like monumental progress at your hotel gym. Like, that's not going to
Mhm.
change anything. And so I'd rather you
Yeah.
get the extra sleep, sit on your porch and drink some coffee and look at the view you don't normally get to see instead. Like, I'd rather you have like that kind of stuff. And, yeah, it's tricky.
That's the same with like when clients are sick
Mhm.
and
Okay, so
they
I'm the
are
worst
like,
here.
shit, I know we've talked about this, but it's like, should I work out? I'm like, well, I don't know.
Right.
Like, think about health. Again, going into the gym and training when you feel like dog shit, is that really what's going to benefit you here? Or can you just drink a shit ton of water and like make sure you get some like good fruit in and whatever, and get to the gym in a few days and kick some ass and feel like you said, rejuvenated? It's like the same thing. And yes, okay, like what is healthy? You guys already addressed that. It's all gray, like truly.
Right.
But it's like, okay, if that's stressing you out, I have 2 clients right now who are off because they had injuries, and they're not injuries, excuse me, surgery, and they're both stressing the crap out. And I'm like, yo, you're actually causing your body more stress.
Yeah.
Like and they both planned these surgeries, and I already talked to them about it. I was like, hey guys, like this is what's going to be up. This is how you're maybe going to feel. So like, let's think about this. But I mean, again, it's like, it's the mentality behind the situation, and how you get over it is not easy. It takes time. It takes calling yourself out multiple times.
Yeah.
It takes questioning your thought process. It takes also sometimes sharing about it.
Yeah.
Like maybe not on a podcast, like with us, that's cool. But like talking, like when I was getting through my like ice cream pint situation, I told Bob, I was like, we can't have ice cream in the house for a little bit. Like, can you just remind me when I'm feeling like a certain way? Like, yeah, let's like go ham on like the ice cream. Like that doesn't feel good in my body right now. And again, going back to not like hating myself. So like, I'm not saying ice cream is unhealthy, but what I was saying was what I was doing
You
to
were
my
in
body.
a fragile place, like with that,
Yeah.
with where you were coming out of it.
And so sharing to Bob was like helpful,
right.
because he would remind me in a kind, nurturing kind of way. It's like, you just have to make, and then you have to fuck up. Like you have to mess up.
Yeah.
And you have to, when you mess up, you have to call yourself out on the like fixing behaviors that you want to do, and not do them. And it's hard. Like it's not fun, but it's truly so much better than staying with where you are at. Because with where you're at, it's not fun either.
And that's the thing, right? Is like the only reason that we can talk about a lot of this stuff, and why like today I feel like really across the board I'm at the like healthiest I've ever been in my life with like all of these different things, is because we've been through all this shit.
Yeah.
And you know, reverse dieting sucks. Getting used to not working out every day sucks. Having to, but you have to, any growth is going to have growing pains. And so if you truly want things to shift and to change, you have to get through that and keep going, even when it gets hard, to truly see like, okay, what does it look like on the other side of this? And I always tell my clients, like, once we do that scary thing, like once, and we get through it, it gets easier. It's just like when you're a little kid and like the first time you jump in the pool, it's super, super scary. But then once you've done it, it's not so bad the next time, you know, you build it up when it comes to that. And it's just establishing that confidence in yourself. But I feel like, you know, with what you were talking about, like with your clients or when people are sick, I feel like the question I see all the time is like, am I going to get fat if I don't work out for 2 weeks? Am I going to lose all my gains if I recover from surgery and stuff? Like, which a lot of times I feel like they're essentially the same question as like what they're going at with it. And if you have to put it that way, then you're probably stressing out over something in a bigger way than we need to. Right? Like if the question is, am I going to get fat? Like, probably not. Right? Like,
I mean, if you're on point with your nutrition, you're fine. Like I did nothing for 6 weeks and I actually lost weight, but the weight that I lost was probably due to like just training and inflammation. Like it was like 2 or 3 pounds. And I wasn't, let me clarify, I was not trying to lose weight. Like that was not a goal. The goal was just health. But I think a lot of that was like just inflammation from surgery, inflammation from not training. You're going to look like flatter, depending on how lean you are, because your muscles aren't popped. They're not full of glycogen, and that's normal and that's fine. You're going to feel softer. When you go back to training, you may feel weaker. That does not mean you lost strength. That actually just means that you temporarily lost that neurological connection. Give it a week, you're fine. Right. So yeah, I think honestly, a lot of these things just become just over analyzed, and very dogmatic. And the fact of the matter is it's pretty gray. And like, it's just, yeah, I don't know what my like ending quote was, but
I
that.
think it's having that honest, like, conversation with yourself of like, is the reason I don't eat that food because it's truly terrible for me, or am I afraid of what happens with that?
Mhm.
Do I not take rest days because I really need it, or is it because I'm afraid this thing will happen if I don't? And that's okay. And the things we don't know and don't understand can give us that. Like, shoot, yesterday, so like I remember I have like an obscene MyFitnessPal streak. Yesterday I had gotten through majority of the day and hadn't opened it yet, and realized it at like 4 o'clock. And like I was tracking like my protein in my head throughout the day. But then I was like, like I had a moment where I was like, oh, I'm proud of myself. I haven't opened my fitness pal. And like all and then as soon as I thought about it, I was like, I I should open my fitness pal. Like I should
Okay.
probably just see what it adds up to. Like it's not gonna change anything. I should probably just look. And that's a habit that, because it's something that does bother me, and because I do just like always do it, and I'm like, gosh, I would like to be one of those people who never tracks anymore. Um and I opened it and I logged yesterday, and I was like, damn it. Like I came so close. Because if I'm at home, I do. If I'm on vacation, I don't bother with it.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where I still feel like that'll be an interesting hurdle to see if I can ever like jump over it, where I like get to a point after like 18 years of like logging food one way or another. Like that's a
You know
thing,
what?
right? Like,
We could have Danny on the podcast. She could talk about intuitive
well, because
eating.
she stopped when she got like before she got pregnant with Colton, right?
Mhm.
And he's 2. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the thing, is I see people that I know that are like, oh yeah, I don't log anymore. And I mean, I'm also just like very type A, everything has to be controlled by me and like stuff like that. So that's a part of this like bigger thing. But I think about it, and I know it's because I'm nervous about what happens if I don't log like for a week. And even when I don't log perfectly, like I know how my body responds to it. I'm not logging every bite the way I would if that's why like I don't check in with anyone right now. I'd be a terrible client. And so like it's not that scary, but it is still something that scares me. So like we even still have something out there that it's like, I don't know, I still have to wear that life jacket. And so like it's just about pushing yourself with the scary things, right? Like we haven't done the win and the want in a while, but like I started putting 65 pounds overhead again. And that is like
That's
very
scary.
scary for me. Like
Mhm.
with a bad shoulder that took a crazy shoulder surgery. And like that's nerve wracking. And every time I push that bar up, I'm like praying and staring at that one like dot on the wall, like hoping it keeps me stabilized and everything. But my shoulders are going to change if I don't start doing something different. And that's what I try to tell people is like, you don't have to light your life on fire and change everything. You do have to do, and you just should, because why are we here if we live cushy lives all the time? Do something that makes your stomach feel a little funny, like when you go to do it. Like have something that's like, oh shit, let's fuck around and find out. And like it's so much more exciting, and it allows for so much growth. And sometimes that means eating the banana. It doesn't even have to be a cookie. Welcome bananas back into your life, or
Yeah.
maybe don't only eat bananas and have a cookie.
As they get wild, have, yeah, wildness.
Right.
I actually just programmed. I made a new client. I created a meal plan for her based off of her macros. And one of her meals is a pasta meal. And she got back to me and was like, I'm having pasta. And I was like, uh-huh.
Right.
And she was like, but what? And I was like, well, you said you like pasta on your list. So I made you have a pasta meal. She was like baffled. Like, yeah, it's cool.
That's something that like at a restaurant, I think when we were in London, actually, we went to this beautiful Italian restaurant, And, my gut reaction is like, all right, I'm gonna get a side salad and I'm gonna find whatever their grilled chicken entree is, right? And I looked at this menu. First of all, it was all in Italian, so I was like, I'm fucked. And then I they didn't have that. It was the first time I had gone somewhere where like I had to order pasta. And I looked at Vic and I was like, I think this is the first time I have sat down at a restaurant and ordered pasta in, I don't know, probably 15 years. Like,
Nice.
and it's crazy. And,
Yep.
it's not as scary, right? Like, don't do it all the time, maybe if you're trying to watch your weight, but like, cook it at home, there's
I
ways
know.
around all of it. And that's what you have to use your coach for. Use people who are like in a similar situation, like talk to people, like be creative with how you do it and stuff. But like the last thing we ever want anyone to be doing is living this lifestyle in fear and feeling like you're going to drown if you
Yeah.
jump in, because it doesn't have to be that way.
Cool. Yeah.
Good to go?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I dig it.
I feel
Okay.
like we wrapped
Actually,
that
this
up.
one went longer. I think we're like an
Yeah.
hour and 15. So
Yeah.
okay, guys, sorry we talked so much. You know where to find us. If you are on the YouTube channel at all, I am the one responding to comments. So go over there and talk to me. So I try to hop in there and respond back to people. But leave us any ideas that you have, any questions that you have. We're always here and want to help. So we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.